Cambodia, night of 21st-22nd January 1971. Over 100 North Vietnamese Army Commandos, otherwise known as Sappers, have secretly infiltrated the special military region around the capital, Phnom Penh. At last, they are within striking distance of Pochentong Airbase and its many military aircraft. Rewind. After the coup in March 1970, Cambodia, renamed the Khmer Republic, was no longer neutral and had allied itself with the United States. Now its armed forces, supported by the US, were engaged in a desperate struggle in the civil war with the Khmer Rouge and its ally, North Vietnam. So for Hanoi, the military airport near Phnom Penh with its many attack aircraft was now a major strategic target. The Sappers. The Sappers then, or Dak Cong, were North Vietnam's special forces. Highly trained, superbly disciplined and indoctrinated in communist principles, they were carefully selected and experts in advanced assault tactics, demolitions and clandestine infiltration. They had already proven themselves in the Long War as worthy adversaries of the United States and the Army of South Vietnam. President Ho Chi Minh himself discussed the Sapper ethos, stating in 1969 that the adoption of Sapper tactics must be flexible, morale must be stable, discipline strict, determination to win and destroy the enemy must be strong, be loyal to the party and the people. There were three main kinds of Sapper unit: urban, naval and field. The training of each reflected their circumstance. However, all were dedicated, perhaps even fanatical, it being sometimes recorded that, on occasion, a unit would don white headbands with the phrase, written in their own blood, "We came here to die." Planning. As with all Sapper operations, this one was well planned. A clandestine study of the airport being made in advance by a small reconnaissance team, maps and photographs of the area were also procured and a model of the airport complex constructed. Men of the 25th Battalion of the 367th Sapper Group and also from the Phuc Long Group's 7th Sapper Battalion were chosen to carry out the raid. The combined commando unit of about 140 men, roughly company-sized, was further subdivided into 6 smaller platoons and each given its own tasks and targets and made to practice over and again. This was standard Sapper operating procedure before any operation. Infiltration. The Ho Chi Minh Trail that kept the Viet Cong and People's Army of Vietnam supplied in the south wound through parts of both Laos and Cambodia, and so Hanoi held a strong military presence in eastern Cambodia despite American and Khmer Army attempts to expel them. So then the Sapper unit needed to infiltrate the defensive perimeter of the special military region around Phnom Penh in order to get to Pochentong Airbase. This they did, travelling mainly at night in small groups unobserved by the Cambodian or US forces. Once at the assembly area near the target on the night of 21st-22nd January 1971, the Sappers made last-minute checks and prepared to go into action. A daring raid. Firstly, to divert attention from the main raid at the airbase, a detachment of Sappers attacked a Khmer Army transport centre and an ammunition warehouse near the civilian airport. Once they heard the explosions from the diversionary attack, the rest of the unit, armed mostly with light weapons including AK-47 assault rifles, and RPG-7 rocket launchers quickly cut the barbed wire fence and penetrated the airbase. The commando teams swarmed over their respective targets, overwhelming the poorly armed guards of the Khmer Security Battalion on duty that night. The Sappers unleashed a storm of small arms fire and rocket-propelled grenades at the aircraft they found on the base and by the runway. One of the 6 detachments separated from the rest and climbed the adjoining commercial terminal of the civilian airport, whereupon they fired a rocket into a napalm supply depot, destroying it utterly. In the early hours of the 22nd, after the successful completion of their raid, the Sappers reassembled amid the smoke, flames and devastation and began to retire from the airport. It was later reported that the Sapper unit suffered over 20 men killed and missing during the operation that night and the next day in its subsequent retreat towards Am Liang in the east. Aftermath. The next morning it was clear to see that the Khmer Air Force had been almost completely wiped out. Of 69 aircraft stationed at Pochentong that fateful night, all were either completely destroyed or severely damaged, including the T-28D Trojans, almost all the Shenyang, MiG, T-37B and Fuga Majista jets and a variety of other key aircraft. Apart from these losses, the Khmer Guard Battalion on duty suffered over 200 casualties. Pochentong Airbase was closed for a week while the remains of wrecked aircraft were removed, the runway repaired, and supplies of fuel and ammunition replenished. This audacious commando raid was a huge setback to Khmer government military operations and morale, and further cemented the reputation of PAVN Sappers in the ongoing Southeast Asian conflict. The story of the North Vietnamese Sapper strike on Pochentong Airbase is a stunning one. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. For more fascinating war stories like this, don't hesitate to subscribe.